This is a 2022 Keystone Raptor 429. We purchased this brand new in 2022, and we purchased it to live out of full time. And ever since we bought it, we've been having some problems. We had a lot of issues from the get-go with PDIs not being done properly, and allegedly it was done at least 3 times by the time we were supposed to take delivery. And have some things installed, including the washer dryer and the gooseneck hitch. So that was not done, the PDI or the installations, when we went to pick it up. The dealership we purchased from, I do not recommend. It is Holiday World out of Texas. They were no help when it came to the problems we were having from the get-go. They actually lied to us twice. We noticed a lot of defects and problems as soon as we picked it up, but they kind of made us decide, you know what, you guys are promising you're going to fix everything. So we just said, okay, we'll take it. So we brought it home, and we had it at the RV park for, I want to say about 5 months. During that time, we kept finding more and more problems, and it was immediately, as soon as we pulled in, like, okay, we have some more problems, not just the cosmetic ones that we had at first. We're having some other electrical problems. So we told them, look, there's a lot of problems on top of what we already stated. You need to take this unit back. And they told us they couldn't. Long story short, there was a lot more going on with the dealership that they lied to us about, because they could take it back. I'll go into details if I need to on that, but they said they couldn't take it back, which was not true. They told me, and they actually told me more after some more things happened, and later I found out that they lied to me twice. But I can go into that in detail in another video. But when it comes to Keystone, they didn't want to fix some of the problems that it had from the get-go. They declined to repair the rear ramp door, which is damaged. It was damaged upon delivery, and it's actually because of the gates, the deck gating that they have. So they didn't either install that properly, or they didn't design it properly, but it punctured a hole into the door. Didn't go all the way through, but when you're paying $150,000 for a trailer, you want it to be 100%. That's one problem. Another problem is in the fuel bay, which they declined to repair. The fuel hose down here is actually rubbing on the chassis, and it is at such a flat angle. When you try to fill this, it will spill fuel out, and since that's rubbing on the chassis, eventually it's going to wear through, and we're not going to get any fuel. They refuse to fix that. That's one. The rear ramp door is another. But the reason I'm making this video is because I have been asking everybody, including the dealership, to buy this thing back because of the amount of problems we had. So this thing almost caught fire twice, and that is because, and they actually replaced this under a warranty repair, so that's good. But the light assembly in here, that almost caught fire. The assembly was burnt black and melted. I caught it in time, pulled the bulb out, and that seemed to have stopped it. It didn't actually catch fire. That's fine. Okay. But then this 50 amp connector, when we took it into the shop finally, it was actually there for 6 months because of Keystone's warranty process. It was originally supposed to be there for 30 days at most, and then potentially brought back once all the parts were approved and delivered and ready to install. But it was there for 6 months, and we had to rent another trailer to live in because we live in ours full time. We're supposed to be building a house here, but everything's been put on hold because it has been costing so much. But this 50 amp connector physically melted and burnt on the backside. I had no clue that was happening. But once it got to the dealership, they found it, and it almost burnt the whole unit down. But they caught it. Now that it's been back, this has been a problem. But yes, the dealership did not do all the repairs. They claim they fixed things that weren't done, but that's a different dealership, different story. But now, as soon as they delivered it, which was delivered, I want to say, I forget the exact date, But it was this year, December of 23. They brought it back. I do remember the time. It was around 9 a.m. in the morning. And the generator, which was a problem, was not working again. And throwing codes. But later that night, I had already connected everything so that when my family came home, they had water and everything ready to go. Well, they said the water heater wasn't working. So I went to check. It was off. So I turned it back on, made sure water was flowing through it, and then attempted to use the water heater inside. It is an on-demand water heater, so it only turns on as water flows through it. It should not engage at any other time. So immediately starts throwing codes, which it threw codes in the past before we got to the dealership. Almost immediately since we've had it, throws random codes. So that's not out of the ordinary. So you usually turn the water off and it turns itself off, and then you turn it back on. Either the code clears or comes back, but you kind of do that. You just kind of get used to it. It is what it is, and I attempted to put that under the warranty claim, but they said they found no problems. It also wouldn't heat properly. Sometimes you get lukewarm water at best, and that's all you get. But they couldn't find a problem. So anyway, it throws code immediately after about maybe 20 seconds of running the hot water. So then I cleared it, went back, turned it on and off about 3 or 4 times, and it kept throwing codes. I think it was an E4. I have to look back to my pictures to see what that code was exactly. I want to say it was an E4, but I may not be correct on that. But either way, it kept throwing the code. As soon as I turned on the water, it would not clear itself. Oh, it would clear. I would turn the water heater off from the panel on the inside to clear the code. Then I would turn it back on, run the water, and it would throw the code immediately. So then after 3 or 4 times of that happening, I said, let's just go back outside and double check it. Well, there's smoke coming out of this. And there was a small flame. Small flame started right here, and it melted these wires. And it was small enough to where I just was able to blow it out. At that point, we were already having problems with the generator. We had no power. It wasn't charging, which is a new problem. This thing seems to gain problems as it sits and not being used. While I was at the dealership, it gained a couple more problems, and then when it arrived here, it had a couple more problems that weren't there before. So at this point, we had no power because the generator wasn't able to charge the batteries. They've diagnosed it. I want to say it's the converter that they've diagnosed that's a problem. So we had no there. The problem that we've had from the very beginning is the vent in the garage does not have heat coming out of it. So that is the kids' room. The toy hauler portion we've converted into the kids' room, and we have no heat back there. So we had no heat in the back. We had no electrical power because it's not charging. So we would have to run the generator all night in order to have power and to run the furnace. So we decided we have no hot water, we have no electricity, we have no heat in the back, and it's just delivered today. Okay, we're not going to stay in it. We're going to go back to the one we're renting. So that's what we did. We started packing our things out. This thing just caught fire, so we were taking all our stuff out. And none of the fire or the smoke alarms actually detected the smoke. So we didn't even realize that there was a fire. It was just me coming out here realizing, okay, there's a problem. Had I not come out here, it would have been worse. And then so we packed up our things, went back into the rental unit, and powered everything down. So that way there's nothing left on. Generator is off, propane is shut off. The water was disconnected because it was snowing and raining that night. And this is getting late at night. I want to say it was close to 10 o'clock at night by the time we found this problem, and everything was turned off. So once everything was powered off, it is night, it's dark out, and I start closing everything, locking it up, and I notice that there's some kind of glimmer outside, like a flashing light. So I come around the corner to double check everything, and sure enough, there's flames coming out of this access panel here. So it had that fire that I had put out earlier had grown. It came back. So now to the point where flames were actually coming out. Of course, I didn't take any pictures that night because I wasn't concerned about getting pictures of the flame. I was more concerned about putting out the fire. Now, if we had actually spent the night in this unit and the smoke alarms didn't go off to detect this fire, how bad would it have gotten? I was able to put the fire out the second time. But at this point, with all the other problems, which I didn't really mention because it's not relevant necessarily to this, although it is because it's had a ton. I want to say there was over 30 lines of warranty items to get corrected on this unit. A lot of them were cosmetic, but a lot of them were functional items that were just not working, and a lot of them were electrical. And since we already had the potential fire with the light assembly on the inside on one end, the melted connector for the 50 amp hookup, and now this one actually caught fire. I've already asked Keystone several times from the very beginning, like, hey, there's definitely something wrong with this unit. There's too many problems. What can we do? Take it back. Replace it if you can. Do something. Take it. I even said take it to the factory. So you guys can fix this correctly. There's a ton of problems. Originally I said I want it fixed right. I don't want to have all these problems. I paid a lot of money for it. They declined and said, no, there's no reason to take it to the shop or to the factory. They can do this all at a local shop. So they didn't want to take it to their factory to get all these things corrected. And I asked, well, what about possibly replacing it or buying it back because of the amount of issues we're having? They said no. And then when this happened, to their credit, I emailed them that night when it happened. And then that was when the first fire happened, the small one. Then when the second one happened, I didn't email them again that night. I was tired. I said, screw it. We're kind of fed up with this unit. We went to bed in our rental unit, and I emailed them in the morning with pictures. Once there was daylight out, I took pictures of how much damage there was and emailed them that morning. It didn't take very long, and then I got a phone call from someone in customer service at Keystone. So I do give them credit for getting back to me quickly. They asked for the details of what happened, and I gave them everything. I gave them the events as I recall them that night, and I was very clear that we're done with this unit. We can't have it anymore. It is unsafe. It is now escalated to the point where our lives could be in danger because of the amount of other electrical problems we've had. Then it made me think back, okay, we had the other two that almost were fires, and then we actually had a fire. So is the next one going to be a fatal accident, a fatal fire that takes us out in our sleep? Or when I'm not even home, maybe my wife and kids are inside and I'm not even home with my job. I'd travel all throughout the state of Arizona, and I may be gone for the entire day. I may not get home until midnight and leave 6 a.m. So I may be gone the entire time if something were to happen and I'm not home. And what if my family's in there? And they've said, no, we're going to fix what's damaged, and that's it. We don't care. They didn't say the words, I don't care. But during the conversation, they said, well, before the conversation can be had about possibly buying it back, it's not an option for us right now. You need to have it inspected. And I told them very clearly, okay, I will do as you ask. I will have a service tech come out, a mobile service tech to come out. It was just dropped off, and I also had to sell my truck that towed this trailer during this entire time because I couldn't afford to make payments on this and including a rental. So it just became so expensive for me that I had to sell the truck. So I don't have a truck to tow this anymore. I explained that to them as well. So they approved to have a mobile tech come out. He came out and he diagnosed it. They're allegedly going to be replacing the water heater. He also diagnosed the charging problem and the problem with the awning. So they're supposed to be fixing those things. But I told them, we're not going to keep this thing. You got to take it back. That's it. We're done. This is no longer going to be in our possession. And the person on the phone was the first one to say anything. She said, if you want to speak to an attorney, you can. And so she brought that up. I didn't. And it was only after that I mentioned, well, I will escalate this if I need to. But I'm giving you guys the option right now. I want to purchase back every dollar we spent You need to give us that. You need to reimburse us for that money. They need every dollar we've spent on this unit because it's so bad. And then possible compensation for what we've been put through. This thing was, like I said, it's been in the shop for 6 months. And if you talk to Keystone customer service, they will tell you, well, there's no reason for that. I agree. There is no reason for that. If you talk to Keystone, they will tell you, if the dealership puts in the information, we will respond within 24 hours, and your parts should ship out within 48 hours. That's what they tell you on the phone. So they claim it's not their problem. Well, I don't know whose problem it truly is, because the dealership will tell us one thing, which I do believe, because I've seen the emails of back and forth. The dealership will tell us that, well, we sent the information to Keystone. They keep responding, we need more information, we need more pictures. And for that reason, the unit stayed at the dealership, because as soon as they submitted something, hey, we need more pictures and this and that. We need some information. You need to disassemble this to get us a picture from this angle and that angle. Otherwise, the warranty won't be approved. So for that reason, it had to stay at the dealership. We couldn't take delivery of it back, because we would be taking it right back for them to get the pictures. Back and forth. No, so we left it there, and once it was submitted and approved, they told us 48 hours. Well, that didn't happen. That took another, I think, 3 months before parts actually arrived. And then at that point, they started repairing it. And that, I don't remember exactly the timeline off the top of my head, but that was probably another 2-3 months. No, it was probably more like 2 months before, or maybe it was only 1 month. I don't exactly remember. But it took some time to get it all fixed in quotes, because it wasn't 100% fixed. But that's another story. That's a dealership, not Keystone. But anyway, we've had to be out of it for 6 months. Problems all the way through, denied some warranty claims, and now potential fire. Well, 2 possible fires, now realizing it in the past that yes, it almost caught fire twice, and it actually physically caught fire at least once with that water heater. So is the next one going to be the life-threatening one? Is the next one that's going to take us out in our sleep? I don't know. I truly don't know. But this unit is no longer safe to us. It needs to be taken back, disassembled, crushed. I don't care. This is not a safe unit. I would not even recommend selling this to somebody else. If I wanted to get rid of it, would I sell this to someone? No, because I'm now transferring a dangerous trailer to someone else. No. They need to take this back, do whatever they want with it, but it cannot be out here putting people's lives at risk. So the only reason I'm making this video is because I've now gotten to the point, and I don't normally post videos on how bad some people may be or what products are. I don't even write reviews for the most part, but this has now gotten to the point, yes, I need to say something so that people know this is what you're going to be dealing with if you buy a Keystone product. We've owned RVs in the past. I've not necessary to live in, but we've owned them in the past. You know that there's going to be problems with them. You know there's going to be some cosmetic things. That's given, but you're going to have components fail. But to have that, at least 3 items that could have been potential fires, one that actually was, and other electrical problems that we're having with it, there's something wrong with this unit. This is one of those alleged COVID units. It's a 2022. Maybe somebody didn't wire this correctly. I don't know. But they need to take this back. There's too many problems with it. It is unsafe. They responded to me this morning because I emailed them. They emailed me about if they wanted to continue the, I don't even know what they call it. It's they promised me during the entire time I was at the dealership that there's going to be some kind of compensation. They couldn't tell me how much until it was completed and back in my hands, and it is now in my hands. And so that process was going, and the way I understood that email, they were asking if I still wanted to have that looked into and to see if they can do some compensation for the time it was there. And I said yes, but I also reiterated everything that I said over the phone. We don't want this unit. You need to take it back. And stated again, you need to take it back. Every dollar we've spent on it needs to be reimbursed to us, and that compensation as well. They responded back this morning saying, well, no, there's no option to buy it back. Well, that I let them know in a response email stating that during the phone conversation, that is not what was said. The lady I was speaking with said that the inspection needs to be done first. After the inspection, then that conversation can be had. We can look into that as an option, but that's not what they wrote in this email. They're saying that purchase back is not an option at all, and that they're going to fix it, which is the water heater and the other two components that they submitted for warranty. They're going to fix those items, and it should be safe after that. You're safe to go, no problems. I don't believe that to be true. You can have one component fail, two components unlikely, three, yeah, there's a root cause somewhere in this, and I don't know what the next one's going to be. And how are we going to actually make it through that one? So that's the only reason I'm writing this or making this video, because they don't seem to care. They don't want to do anything about it. It's a almost brand new unit. We were only in it for maybe 8 months at most before it actually made it to the dealership for the warranty items. We live out here down a dirt road, so when the snow and rain comes out, it makes it very difficult to get out, in and out. The dealership had a backlog and they couldn't get us in, and finally we did get it in, and 6 months later we got it back, and more problems. We're not even staying in it now. Today, I don't even know what today is. I think today is maybe the 8th or 9th, and it was delivered on a Wednesday at the beginning of the month, so whatever day that is. So I want to say it's been at least a week since it's been here, so it's now 6 months and a week, and we're not in it. But yeah, if you guys had any questions, let me know. Hope this doesn't happen to you guys. Probably don't look at Keystone products. Their customer service is not the greatest. They're very polite on the phone for the most part. Sometimes I've had them talk back to me, treat me as if I don't know what I'm talking about. I am a field service technician myself. I went to school for this, so I am more than capable of looking at and working on just about anything on this RV. But they will talk to you and treat you as if you don't know what you're talking about, even though, well, they don't know until you tell them, like, well, I do this stuff for a living. I work on, maybe not necessarily RVs, but I've worked on all kinds of things, and what I do now is literally work on just about everything with the company I work with. So I do have some kind of understanding of how electrical, mechanical, hydraulic, and solar systems work, because I do this for a living. But because even though you mention it, they're like, well, you don't work on RVs. Oh, there's nothing different between an RV hydraulic system and any other hydraulic system. They're all equal. They're smaller components usually in an RV, so the stuff I work on is a lot bigger. Electrical is electrical, AC is AC, DC is DC. Nuts and bolts are all the same. Engines are engines, which is what that generator is. It's a gas-powered engine. Motors are motors. Electrical motors are motors, whether they're DC or AC. They all function the same. Positive and negative, neutrals, grounds, that's all identical. Solar, well, I have a solar system right there. I work on solar systems for many other things. So this is not something I'm unfamiliar with. So, but they do think that they're kind of a little bit higher up on that grading scale, I guess. Sometimes they do cut you short when you're trying to explain things to them. They'll cut you off and not let you finish what you're talking about. But when you get the right one, they are pretty polite. But this may be something you have to deal with. They will only do the bare minimum to get you out the door and get you off their backs. But I don't think And as a matter of fact, they didn't even approve a lot of the things, so it's not like they do that great of customer service. And I don't know how accurate this is, but this is pretty typical when it comes to warranties, but not this excessive. The dealership claims that they put 80 hours worth of labor time into this, and they're only going to get paid 14. Even in my industry, and automotive industry as well, which I did work for a number of years. The warranty is kind of the worst kind of repairs you want to do because you don't get paid for it. The job may normally cost or pay, say a 3-hour job that you might charge a customer for. When the warranty comes, you might only get paid half. You might only get an hour and a half, and you can't really fight that. The manufacturer's only going to pay what they're going to pay, and they make the decision. No one else has any say in that. But I've never heard of somebody putting 80 hours of labor on something and only getting paid 14. That's excessive. There's always an exception. They will always have that exception. Like, okay, well, you put a lot of time. Well, can you explain why? And if you can explain it, most of the time they'll at least help you out. In the industry I work in now, again, that's pretty typical. You submit the information, your labor time, and explain yourself for why it took you longer than it should have. And usually manufacturers are pretty good about it. They will help you out and get you some time. Maybe they won't get you everything, but some is better than none. Well, 14 hours is what they're claiming that they're paying out, and they're kind of losing out on it. And it's unfortunate. I wish I had something to give the dealership, but I don't. I am flat out broke with this unit. Having to pay this and another unit. And actually the monthly payment on my rental is more expensive than this. I pay $1,000 a month on this, and my rental is $1,500. And this is a lot, well, I say a lot nicer because it's supposed to be a lot nicer, but when in reality a lot of the things don't work, so it's not really nice. It's just bigger. But anyway, I didn't want to make this video this long, but it is what it is. I guess I had a lot to say. I also didn't say very much, but yeah, that's what you can expect with Keystone. I've never had this problem with any other manufacturer. I don't know why the industry has gone this way. I know I'm not the only one that's had problems. It also has at least one bent tubing and aluminum framing for the top half. So I know that's not the structural chassis, but that is the structural for the housing portion. And it has a bent tube chassis in there, and they declined that as well. So I forgot to mention that they declined to repair the bent tubing. I don't know if there's frame flex and that's what caused it. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't feel like installing it correctly, or they had a scrap piece of aluminum they're just laying around and said, screw it, we're not gonna let this piece go to waste, we're just gonna install it. Maybe, I don't know. I truly don't know, but they're saying they're not gonna fix that. So anyway, hopefully I didn't take up too much of your time. Hopefully this helps someone that's looking at RVs and they're considering a Keystone product. Think twice. If I had to do it again, I would go with the Grand Design. I know they have their own problems, but definitely with the lack of support that Keystone has offered, not wanting to fix their stuff, and not truly caring that my family could have, my family and I included, could have died in our sleep, either from smoke inhalation or the fire itself. Maybe we didn't get out in time because the smoke alarms didn't go off. But yeah, that's the end. Thank you. Thanks for watching till the end if you did.